Well, hello everyone, it's Pete here. So this video is going to be the answer to the questions that people asked me in the video where I was asking you to ask me anything. So this is going to be a great big long one, misses. So if you haven't got about 40 minutes to listen to me waffling on, then do us a favour, leave the video running, just turn the sound down, maybe come back later. It'll do wonders for my YouTube analytics. Oh, and don't forget to press like and all that as well. So I've got myself a beer ready, got some crisps, I've got the questions written on the PC there, so let's get into it. So a big thank you to everyone who did ask me a question. I'm not going to mention your actual names unless I know that you mentioned them on your channel, so I guess some people want to be incognito. Like for instance the RC so-and-sos, they don't mention the names on the channel, so I won't either. And I can't remember what they are. So they're asking, if you're not into RC vehicles, would you still have made a YouTube channel, and what do you think it would be about? I quite like the sound of brewing with Pete Wiley. Well, yeah, I did used to do homebrew quite a bit before I got into RC cars. I sort of stopped doing homebrew when a brewery opened locally, and that's where I'm getting this stuff here, because they make it a lot better than I ever did, although it is more expensive, so I may get back into the homebrewing. Whether I'd have made a channel about it, I don't know. The RC cars do sort of lend themselves to video making, don't they? Because you've got the run videos, and you've got the builds and all that, and the advice. The other sort of thing I sometimes watch on YouTube is just people going around a town or whatever, and the RC so-and-sos do a good job of this because they do the RC car and they go around the town. But some people just seem to make a video where they walk around town with a camera, and then people watching they seem to get millions of views. There's obviously probably quite a lot of videos where people don't get a lot of views, but it might be interesting just to do some shots around towns and making comments and all that sort of thing. The honest answer is I don't know. If I'd have done a YouTube channel without the RC cars and I was sort of trying to copy Matteo in the first place, and then it sort of developed into doing sort of more build and that kind of thing. But yeah, it has to be something you're really into, I think, to keep it going, especially to keep it going for this long, because the channel's been going for 10 years now. So yeah, would I have done it? Not sure. I was into videoing before I got into RC cars. I was always into video cameras and editing and all that, and it was always difficult before YouTube to actually find anyone to watch it, because you spend hours editing it and then you sort of force it upon your friends and family. So it had a very limited audience. So it is really good now that YouTube has been invented and you can find sort of like-minded people to show your videos to. So hopefully I think that answers your question. So next up we got my old mate Bryan. Hiya Mark. So Mark is asking, if I had to give him all my RC cars except one, which would I keep? So generous of Mark to let me keep one. So I'm thinking about logistics, because I've got to send 45 cars up to Mark, leaving me with the one. So makes sense probably if I keep like the heaviest and most expensive, because I'm going to have to replace all the ones that are sent to Mark. So I'm going to keep the Outcast 4S because it's quite heavy. It's good RC, so it's a good one to keep while I try and rebuild the collection again. I might as well actually probably just drive up, fill the car up, fill up my real car with all the RC cars and drive them up to Mark. And while I'm up there, I might steal some of his. So hope that answers your question, Mark. Next up, we got Cueball. Hiya, Cueball. So his first question is, have you ever thought about or tried giving other RCs a try, like aeroplanes? He's put airplanes, it's American, see. Aeroplanes, helicopters, quadcopters, FPV. I don't really get very excited about things that fly. I guess it would be cool to do the drone thing and see the view from it. I don't know, I just can't get into aircraft. I guess, to say, putting the camera on it would make it interesting. And it was interesting to get the footage from Nick's drone of our local area, but I think there's a lot more restrictions on them as well. Like an RC car, even if you're not technically supposed to drive one somewhere, you tend to get away with it. With aircraft and that, I think they're a little bit more harsh about the rules and everything. So question 2, what's the worst RC car you've ever owned and flat out hated? So the one I had the most issues with actually was a Traxxas Slash, and you might be surprised to know that I've got a Traxxas, given how much I say that I hate them as a company. But this is back many years ago when I was starting out the hobby and I didn't really know any better. So I might come on to the Traxxas a bit later, but I did have a lot of problems with that, and out of the box I thought it was a bit rubbish, tipped over too much, suspension was rubbish. I think that's the only set of radio gear that's ever failed on me. The brushless motor failed on me. It needed a lot of work to make it anyway half decent. I've still got it, amazingly, but yeah, it's not brilliant really. So yeah, the Traxxas Slash. actually a good indication the cars didn't like so much the ones that I've sold, which isn't many of them really. I did actually sell the Yeti in the end to Dom, and it's not because I didn't like it, but as a basher it wasn't as tough as the Armours, and it was a bit more complicated to mend and all that sort of thing, and with the big squashy tyres it tended to topple over, and it's got a solid axle at the back, so the handling wasn't up to sort of bashing and sliding around corners. It's a bit more of a sort of crawly rock racery thing. So although I did like that, I sold that one on. And also I sold the FTX Outback to Derek, because it turned out that crawling wasn't really my thing, a bit too dull. I mean, it was a nice car, but yeah, crawling's a bit too boring for me, so I got rid of that one. So not because it's a bad car, just because it wasn't for me. Also, I did sell the Kyo Show Mad Van in the end, so not because it's a bad truck, but there's a few sort of weaknesses with the drivetrain, and although I did enjoy it, again, the Armours are so much tougher and they do the same sort of thing, so I thought, well, there's no point in having this that's going to break. I might as well just keep the Armours and sell this while it's still worth quite a bit of money, because it was still in quite good condition. So I did sell that one as well. So the next question he's asking, what are your feelings about Team Associated and Team Lossy RC cars? So I haven't actually owned any from these brands as yet, so I don't know. I've got nothing specifically against them like I have with Traxxas, but I'm going to get onto one of those brands in a bit because it relates to another question somebody else is asking about something I might like. So question 4, he's saying, have you ever considered giving 18th, 16th or 1/12th a try someday? Well, I've got a 12th scale, it's the Tamiya lunchbox, but I just find 10th scale and some of the Armour ones, they're really 8th scale, aren't they? But they're just a good size, though they're not so tiny that it's fiddly to work on, but they're not so enormous that they don't fit on my desk here. So I don't know, 10th and 8th scale just seem to be a good size, and they seem to be a good size to interact with the real world. Having said that, though, I do quite like the little mini crawlers. I know I've said that I find crawlers very boring, but it might be interesting to have all the tiny crawlers, but they seem to be, to me, they seem to be quite expensive for the size that they are, but they do look quite good, and say in the winter you could drive it around inside and all that, but yeah, I'm not really prepared to spend much money on something like that. So yeah, generally 10th scale for me. Also, he's asking my favourite RC radio. So I tend to go very cheap actually on radios. I've never actually got into the expensive ones. I shall explain why. So the ones that I use are these. They've got the Dumbo RC. So this is Neotronics, but they're also sold as a Fly Sky, these ones. So these very simple ones I just like because you can bind a lot of cars to the same radio. I've seen people saying you need to bind it each time. You don't just bind a lot of cars to the same radio, and it doesn't take very long to actually set it up. You stick the car on its back and twiddle the knobs, and you've got very simple switches and dials. It takes about 10 seconds, and it's all set. Whereas you get digital radios and you've got to change something, they're all tappity tap with buttons, and which button does that. Just basic radios. The Dumbo is good because it's got the gyro function on it, which is sometimes useful for a speed run. But yeah, keep it simple, I say. So thanks, Cueball, for your questions. So next up, John Foster at JFRC. Hiya, John. So John's asking, out of the model builds that you've completed, please list the top 3 best builds and why. So I'm saying first, Axial Yeti. That was a really good kit. The instructions aren't as good as the Tamiya kit, but very nice premium components. There was a lot of upgrades in that kit. A very substantial piece of kit. Like I say, very nice build, that one. Second, I'm saying something like Tamiya Kong Head or the Volvo Hauler, one of those 6-wheel drive cars. They're always good fun to get together, not too difficult, but yeah, just a nice truck, nice size, and sort of a little bit of complexity with the gearbox, but not too much. So yeah, I really like that, and obviously I like the finished result of that one. And also I'm saying Kyosho Turbo Scorpion, lots of nice premium metal parts. It's sort of a little bit more like Meccano to put together, but yeah, really like that, and a really nice end result, really lovely scale looking buggy. Another honourable mention might be the XVO1, another premium kit from Tamiya. So yeah, nice components and everything, very nice build and a great end result. John's also asking, at the other end of the scale, bottom 3 builds and why. So I'm having a look around the room at my cars, and I can't really think of any that I didn't enjoy building. They're mostly Tamiyas, and Tamiyas make good kits. So I can't really think of a bottom 3 for you, John. I think they're all good, even from the very easy ones like the DTO2, DTO3 up to, like I say, the XVO1, a little bit more complicated. But yeah, I think I've enjoyed doing all of them. So John's also asking if you could rebuild a previously built RC car, which one would it be and what would you have done to make it a better build? So I think going back to the XVO1, what I should have done was to re-watch Mark Bryan's build series on it, because I didn't, because it's, you know, it was a Tamiya kit, and I thought, well, I know what I'm doing here. And there were a few little tricky bits to it, and I did then go on to Mark's build guide and have a little look at that after I'd sort of messed something up. What I should have done, and what everyone should do obviously, is to watch the Mark Bryan build series first and then get cracking with it. So one thing with that, the rod ends were ridiculously difficult to get onto the rods, and what Mark was doing was drilling them out a bit obvious really, but yeah, I didn't realise that till afterwards. So yeah, that's what I would have done, John. Next is Dom from RC Dom UK. Hiya Dom. So he's asking, what's the best weight for a Hornet to stop tail dragging? Now, this might seem like a ridiculous, confusing question. It comes from, there was a guy who was making videos specifically hating on me particularly, and Dom. Actually, Dom, the one about Dom was actually worse, I think. And yeah, I was going to do a response to this video. Look it up if you want to. I don't sort of want to give him the the promotion, but yeah, he was sort of slagging us off for our inept attempts at everything. He was talking about in comments on the Mark Bryan video about tail dragging, and I think it wasn't valid to drive an RC car without sliding the back out, and I think that's what he was talking about with tail dragging. And what Dom was saying about the weight of a Hornet, on my video that this guy was slagging off, he was saying that the correct weight for a Hornet would be 100 kilos, because you know, obviously the full-size car would be about 1,000 kilos, and so a 10th scale, it should be 100 kilos, shouldn't it? No, incorrect maths. I'll just get my Hornet and demonstrate. So here it is now. Even looking at the weight of this in a common sense kind of a way, you can tell that you couldn't fit 100 kilos, which is more than the weight of me, into this little car, even if you made it from the heaviest materials known to man. So why isn't a 10th scale RC car a 10th of the weight as the real car? So obviously it's because it's a 10th of the length, but it's also a 10th of the height and a 10th of the width. So actually it would be 1,000th of the weight of the real thing, which would be a kilo. And actually this is a little bit heavy, because it's actually a kilo and a bit, I think, this one, and with the battery a little bit more. So actually, if anything, this is already too heavy. I think that answers that one, hopefully. So a better demonstration of this Mazda 2, because I drive a Mazda 2 in real life. My real life one's a bit of an older model, but same sort of size and weight. So if I put this next to my real Mazda 2, I think you can see the problem, that you'd need more than 10 of these to make up the volume of the real one. So when that video first came out, I was going to do a response to it and explain why this should actually weigh a kilo and not actually 100 kilos, but in the end I couldn't be bothered really, I just left it be. So Dom's also asking what's your favourite band and album and fave film. So film's easy. Yeah, Star Wars. No, Back to the Future, obviously, come on. I don't need to justify that, do I? So bands and albums a bit more difficult really. So I think a man of my age is supposed to say something like AC/DC and Def Leppard, but that wasn't really my bag. I was always into electronic music, synth stuff, dance music, and tends to be more producers and DJs that I was interested in, and been to a lot of sort of ravey events, because say I am of that age. I think you were either into rock or you were into sort of dance music or maybe indie music, but for me it was the dance music. Still try and go to events every now and again, because you can go there and not be the oldest people there, because there's a lot of other people who were young people in the 80s and 90s who go to these things. So yeah, it's all the sort of Ibiza anthems, so it's difficult to do an album, because you didn't tend to get one artist doing a whole album. It tended to be compilations. There was a set of compilations out in the 90s called Reactivate, and I'm saying Reactivate 10 is the one, but also I had an album, The Best Ibiza Anthems in the World Ever, and that got replayed an awful lot of times. So yes, general dance music. So DJ wise, people like Paul van Dyk, we saw all the big ones, because there's a place local to us who were well into all this stuff, and they've got all the big name DJs down, you know, sort of your Pete Tongs and your Danny Ramplings and your Judge Jules. So yeah, it tends to be that kind of thing that I'm interested in more than bands. So I hope that answers your question, Dom. Next is Adam of Addams Playground. Hiya, Adam. So Adam's asking, what's your holy grail RC to get if you are able to get it? So what I'm thinking with this one is the one that I really wanted when I was a teenager, when I was into the hobby, is the Toyota Hilux, the 3-speed Tamiya. Just looked fantastic in the catalogue there, so scale looking, just loved all the metal on it. You know, if they did that again, it's not really my sort of car because it is a bit of a crawler really, although it's 3-speed, but if I could get one, it probably would live on the shelf. But yeah, that's really the one that I wanted. I know they do a Hilux now, but it's not the same. It has to be the same one as it was before, the red with that particular colour scheme, and all the parts as they were. So yeah, I would like that one, but yes, too expensive second hand. Will they ever re-release it? I don't think so. Actually, what's funny about looking at the promo videos of that Hilux now is it's got very stiff suspension as it's going over the landscape. The wheels are sort of coming off the ground because there's not much play in the suspension at all. You didn't really think about it at the time, but now with modern crawlers, which are obviously a hell of a lot better, you know, it doesn't look so good, the old one, but still it is a classic and quite a groundbreaking RC at the time. And Adam is also asking what's something you'd like to see come out in RC, a specific car, truck or buggy, or something that hasn't been done before. What I would really like actually is the James Bond Lotus to come out, the Lotus Esprit Mark 1. So road cars aren't so much my thing, but I would really like to see that. It's just such a classic car. I used to have, before the fire happened in 2018, I did have a nice little die-cast James Bond Lotus. That went out sadly and I haven't been able to find it since, but an RC one of them, it wouldn't obviously change into a submarine because that might be a bit complicated, but I just love the look of that Mark 1 Lotus. So if they did one of those, I would definitely get it. Next up, it's Craig from the OAG RC. Hiya, Craig. So Craig's asking, which RC have you always wanted but haven't got around to getting yet? So the one that I really like and I still want, it's just expensive, is the Lossy LMT. When it came out, it was £550 British pounds. I think it's 630 now or something like that, and it's just a lot of money. I mean, our financial situation changed a little bit last year. We were quite significantly worse off. We're getting by okay, but there's less hobby money. There's sort of the hobby money per month in the tens of pounds rather than the hundreds. But I still would like to get the Lossy LMT, but it's a lot of money. But if I can fund it by selling a few others, then I might do that. And there is a question coming up about RCs that I would sell if I had to. I have got some in mind. So yeah, if I could fund it, then Lossy LMT, because I really enjoyed driving the Clodbuster, but with that one it seems a bit fragile and you couldn't really push it and launch it. Say it's just too many hard plastics and everything. So something like that, but tougher and faster, I really think I would like it, and everyone says it's a good truck. So yeah, that's the one I'd go for. Next up is Alastair Goddin. Hiya, Alastair. Alastair's asking, if you could only have 5 RCs, what would they be? This is a difficult one. So the Lunchbox has got to be in there. It's the one that got me back into the hobby back in 2012, I think it was. And also you need some roughy tufty bashers, so a couple of the Armours have got to be in there. Maybe the Big Rock, maybe the Typhon. I don't know, they're all good. But 2 of them, possibly one of the 4S's like the Mojave, but definitely 2 decent bashers. Be good to have a rally car in there, and that'd be the XVO1, because that's the best handling rally chassis that I've got. And finally, possibly the Turbo Scorpion. So I had a decent buggy. It's got really nice handling, nice weight to it, and it's got the retro styling to it. So I think those are the 5, but it's very difficult because there's a lot more of my collection that I really, really like and would miss. And luckily, this is a fictitious situation. So Alistair's also asking, if you had to have or got for free a larger scale RC 1/8 or bigger, what would it be? It's a difficult one, really. The big scale ones do worry me because my friends have got them. They're so heavy and fast, and I just think of the damage they might do to somebody. if I drove into them. I do like the 6S Mojave, but again, it's a bit terrifying at full speed. And the 4S1 is quick and a bit lighter, so I like that. Also, you might have to say Traxxas X Max. I mean, it is a Traxxas, but that's probably the best thing that they made. They are very tough, enormous. Again, for me, a bit terrifyingly enormous, but it is that style of truck that I do like. So possibly that, if I could erase all the things that say Traxxas on it, but it would be against all my principles, so probably not that. So yeah, let's say the Armour. So Alastair's also asking what's your favourite nationally available beer. So I'm glad beer's come up. It's the other thing I'm quite nerdy about and very passionate about. So I've got some tins here that I've been drinking recently. So it tends to be the pale ales and IPAs. So we've got Northern Monk Faith there. It's a nice one. So there's this Ultra Phase by North, very powerful stuff, 8.4% double IPA. Not really what you call a session beer, but very nice. Buxton Brewing King Slayer double IPA. So Vocation, I think they're the best brewers in Britain that you can generally get in supermarkets. So this one is Doppelganger. So this is a special edition, so it might not be available forever, but this is absolutely delicious. And again, Vocation, this is one of their general beers, which is Love and Hate. What's that one? It's about 7.2%. Really nice IPA, that. So again, Vocation Brewery, generally available in supermarkets, is Life and Death, 6.5%. Really citrusy IPA, delicious. So it's a bit different to the others. The British IPA Proper Job is only 5.5%, so you can neck this a bit more quickly. It's not really like your West Coast IPAs or your New England IPAs, but it is bitter and it's very nice, and you can usually get it on draft in a pub. So that's another good one. You'd also have to mention some of the Brewdog ones. Elvis Juice is pretty good, Punk IPA, but I think these other ones are better. So nationally available in pubs is a bit more difficult to answer, because it tends to be the sort of mass-produced ones that aren't so good in pubs that are on draft. And if they've got cask ones, they tend to be more local. So beer will come up again in this chat, but thank you, Alastair, for your questions. Next up, we've got James at MadBeeRC. So James is asking, my question is, what question would you like to answer to if you asked the question on the question you asked the question to that answered your question? So I think what he's asking is, what would I ask myself? Okay, so my question to myself is, when you started the channel back in 2012, did you ever imagine yourself sitting in front of the camera talking? The answer is no, because really all I wanted to do was have the RC cars on the screen looking nice, like a Matteo video. I never envisaged actually doing voiceovers for the videos or anything like that, or any of the how-to videos, anything like that. Yeah, I just wanted RC cars looking nice, and all these years later, here I am sitting in front of the camera chatting away. So yeah, things have moved on. So I'm still not entirely comfortable doing this sort of thing, but say it's only being shared amongst fellow nerds, so I can live with it. So James is also asking what age I was when I started my RC adventure. I think initially I was probably about 10, and unfortunately what was available then was very poor compared with what you can get nowadays, especially, well, for a reasonable amount of money anyway, because I asked for an RC car and I got one of the ones that just goes forwards until you press the button and it goes backwards in a circle. And even at that age it seemed a bit disappointing, but I was obsessed with this idea of controlling a car from a distance without a wire and all that. And I chatted about this in another video, so maybe I'll put a link up to that. I sort of went through the Tandy ones, you know, Radio Shack cars like that, and eventually I got the Tamiya holiday buggy. I think it was probably age about 13, 14, something like that. Obviously that was a Christmas present, because far too expensive for pocket money. But yeah, it was around that kind of time when I got into it, sort of 10 through, and then it sort of finished about 18 when suddenly I was allowed to go to pubs, and that kind of took over my life, and that went through to about age 45, where I still go to pubs, but I've got a bit more spare time for hobbies like this. And also James is asking, you're a beer man, but what if any spirits do you enjoy drinking? I have to say, spirits I did have as a 20-something, but they all seem too sweet now. Probably the mixers seem too sweet, and it's just beer, it's like that bitterness. And obviously as a teenager and a young 20-something, you're just trying to get smashed out your face, so you're just having very strong spirits. But now I don't drink spirits unless I'm on an all-inclusive holiday, in which case I might have a few cocktails, Long Island iced tea, that sort of thing, but generally it's beer for me. Next up, it's my old mate Peter Smith from CW01 Creations. Hiya Pete. Pete is asking, if you had a G601 and didn't like the Kong head, Dyne head or King Yellow body shells, which body shell would you choose to build or extend to fit on the G601 chassis? So I'm not sure if Pete wanted to actually do this or if it was just a theoretical question, but one that I came up with was, what about if you had a very long Willy? Misses. But you had a wild Willy and you extended the back of it so you had two wheel arches at the back. That'd be pretty amazing, wouldn't it? But that's an expensive one, so if Pete really wants to do it, I was thinking maybe some kind of European style truck rather than the Kong head, which is the American style truck. So if you could get a Euro truck that would fit on there, that'd be pretty cool. That's a little bit what the Dyne head looks like. Also, there's a real life British monster truck called Big Pete, and it's American style truck. But how cool would that be to have Big Pete? Next up, we got the M.A.S.Ked-Crusader. Sorry, I don't know your real name, but hi. So he's asking which is the best RC spot you've ever been to. So the one that I've been to the most is Holmesley in the New Forest, and that's always good. It's got wide open spaces. It's got the lump jump. Is it the best place? I don't know. There's the place on Ramsdown Hill, which is good. It's got the jump on it. But yeah, in general, probably Holmesley. I've been there the most times. Let's say it's got huge space, and you know, it's just generally a good place to meet because there's plenty of room for everyone. You can run your little Tamias over the bump, and you can run your fast ones up and down what was the runway down there. Yeah, that's probably still the best spot. Also, the golf course is very good for cars that are a bit less off-roady. Nice smooth grass, especially in the summer. Obviously, you've got to avoid the golfers, which is annoying, so that's why it's not in first place, but that's another great spot. And he's also asking if you had to choose one RC, what would it be? So going back to what I was saying with Mark's question about what one RC would I be left with, if I was only allowed to have one in total, it'd have to be something like the Big Rock, specifically with the granite tyres, because that makes it better. That or the Typhon. It'd have to be one of the Armours because they're sort of roughy tufty enough to drive with the things like the big Traxxas X-Maxes and things like that without braking. If you had a Tamiya, I'm sure it'd be great, but not running with those other big bully boy cars. So yeah, maybe the Big Rock or the Outcast or something like that. And he's asking which RC has brought you the most joy over the years, so that's got to be the Lunchbox. So it's the one that got me back into the hobby and always puts a smile on your face when you drive it. It's just a bit ridiculous, sort of falls over quite a lot, but get a few of them together, it's always going to be fun, especially brushless. And so yeah, Tamiya Lunchbox. So next up is Simon. Hiya Simon. So Simon's asking, knowing that you have a massive RC collection, if you had to downsize, what 5 cars would you get rid of? This sort of feeds into previously what I was saying about the Lossy LMT, and if I had to fund it, it'd have to be from cars that I currently own. So first up has to be the Traxxas Slash. As I was saying earlier, is a Traxxas. I've made it fairly decent now. It's got a beetle shell on it and all that, but compared with the Armours, it's still not certainly not the best thing I've got. It's not that quick. It is brushless, but probably that. I did keep it because that was one that survived the fire because it was tucked out of the way. So I did feel like I needed to keep it. I don't know if everyone knows, but there was a fire in the house and I lost most of my original collection of RC cars. But the Slash did survive. But yeah, I think I'm going to let go of it now. So secondly, this, which makes me a bit sad actually, because it's the HPI Firestorm. Really good car. It's my favourite RC for a long time. Still be well up there if it wasn't for the fact that you can't really get spare parts so easily these days. So I blame Traxxas for this because it was Traxxas that drove HPI out of business in the first place. They did come back to life in another guise, but they haven't still got all the original models that they used to do, including this one. So there's certain things on this that's very difficult to get. I have actually got 2 of these, so I've got a donor vehicle. So if I did sell this, if anyone's interested in this, I have got a good lot of spares for it. Yeah, say really nice car, really nice handling car, but I do sort of worry that I'm going to go out and break something that I can't get a replacement for. So yeah, sadly this one might go as well. So next up I'd say this one, it's the TA01, but not with this body. I like this body. I also like this body. This is what it came with. Now I think this body was sought after a while, but then they've re-released this in the interim, so you can easily get hold of this Ford Escort. So yes, this is a good car, but it's just not as good as an XV01, and I don't think I need that many rally cars really, so possibly get rid of this. The handling of it just doesn't seem to be as entertaining as an XV01, doesn't sort of hang the back out so much. I mean, it is only brushed. I say it is a decent car, but definitely want to possibly consider selling. Now, one that's up in the loft that I can't bother to get down is the FTX Bugster. I did a big long review to say what I thought of that. I say it's good for the money, but the gearbox is a little bit weak. I need to just replace some gears in that, get it back together and sell it really, because it's not doing anything up in the loft. So yeah, that one can go. Last of all, this customised Wild Willy. It is very nice, got working lights top and bottom, but yeah, it's more of a shelf queen really, this one. I've only run it once on grass in the dry. This is one built by somebody else. I got it because it came with the Sand Scorcher as a sort of bulk deal, but yeah, I could get rid of this. It has only just been on the shelf, and I don't really do shelf queens. And I've also got a Wild Willy that I built myself, just more in the traditional colours. So yeah, this one might find itself up for sale. Next up, it's Damian at Dusty Fingers RC. Hiya, Damian. So Damian's question is, how does your infatuation with RCs start, and at what stage was the dirty moment when you bought something other than a Tamiya? Oh, well, I think I described earlier my first RC cars, like the Radio Shack ones and all of that. So when I was a teenager, once Tamiya was invented, it was all about Tamiya until I stopped doing the hobby. Then obviously I got back into the hobby in middle age, and the first two that I got were the Lunchbox and the Holiday Buggy re-release. And what happened was I'd done this Holiday Buggy, and I'd done sort of quite a nice job on the body shell and all that. And I got a bit carried away with doing jumps, and I jumped it onto concrete and smacked it in the front and cracked the body, and that ruined the stickers on it. And I was so upset by this, I thought what I've got to have is more of a basher car that I can knock around and not care about. And that's when I got the HPI Savage XS, and that was my favourite little basher for a long time. It seemed incredible at the time because it was brushless and LiPo batteries, and you know, compared with the Tamiyas, even an upgraded Tamiya, it just seemed absolutely mental. So yeah, that was the moment when I sort of decided that Tamiyas, you can knock them around a fair bit, but what you need is the real tough ones that you can really, you know, send and all that. So yeah, it was the HPI Savage XS. So the next question is from MadBeeRC Buggy. Hello to you. So he wants to know about beer and armour. So he's saying about what are the best UK breweries and what IPAs to look out for these days. So I sort of covered that a little bit earlier. So he's saying he knows Brewdog, Northern Monk, Vocation. So yeah, all those appeared in my little selection of beers there. Yeah, they're probably the best breweries that you can get from the British supermarket. So he's also asking, do you think we'll see a new Typhon from Armour this year? And I don't think they'll do another 3S. I think the 3S line are pretty well sorted. So, I mean, they might update them, but at the moment they seem to be going for the 4S cars. So they might do a 4S Typhon. But yeah, it'd be interesting if they did that and see what upgrades they're doing, see how close then it is to the 6S. But they're always doing new things, so who knows? Next up, it's Modern Day Dino, who is Nick. And Nick's asking, as you've been through a LiPo fire, what are your thoughts on LiPos now? And I think really the LiPos, they're kind of necessary when you get into the bigger stuff. I was doing those comparison videos last year with the NMH batteries. It turns out a little Tamiya still can get good performance, but when you get to the bigger stuff, you do need a more powerful battery. You just can't get that performance out of NIMH. So what I've learned is just to be wary and take all the safety precautions you can with the fireproof boxes and all of that, and keep it away from stuff. And probably if you live in a tower block, maybe it's not the best thing to have. You need somewhere safe, and if they did go up, you need to think, is there anything around that could go? So yeah, it's just safety first with the LiPos, and don't get complacent like I probably did. I was using the LiPo bags and everything, but I had all the LiPos scattered around, and that's when the fire happened. So when one went, they all went, and it was fairly catastrophic, as you'll know if you've seen those videos. So yeah, just be careful. So next there's Yoda Darkside, Greenhawks RC, which is James and Taylor. Hiya guys. So he's asking, how do you manage to keep your content so fresh and inspirational after all these years? Well, I'm not sure if I do actually. The annoying thing I find is that I come up with lots of ideas because my job is a delivery driver, and you don't have to concentrate very hard on driving. I mean, you do, but you know, there's quite a lot of your brain left to go over things, and I'm always thinking of ideas, but I've never got enough time or energy to do them. So there's quite a few videos that I've been thinking about doing for quite a long time, and I haven't got round to. I don't know, I just find the time goes nowadays. I don't seem to have time to keep up with people's channels, and I apologise to everyone who I don't keep up with your channel. I just the time just goes. So I would like to do more than I'm doing, is the honest answer, but thank you for saying that. I mean, you've always been a great supporter of the channel, and I really appreciate it, and I wish I could do more of it. Maybe when I retire in a few years I can put a bit more effort into this, but in the meantime, earning money out of YouTube, yeah, it's not easy. It is easier to make money out of a minimum wage job if you talk about the hours that you put into it. So, but yeah, when I retire, I've got a pension, I'll do the Mark Bryan thing and just put a lot more effort into the RC channel. So he's asking also what's the favourite car in the collection and why. So sort of been over this, probably, like I say, Tammy wise, Lunchbox I would say, and Armour wise, things like the Big Rock and the Outcast, and now the Mojave as well. Those cars, difficult to pick one, but say the best all-rounder possibly the Big Rock with the granite tyres on it. So he's saying, as a fellow pisshead, are we allowed to say that on YouTube? For non-Brits, that means somebody who likes a drink, possibly too much of a drink sometimes. He says, sorry, I mean alcoholic beverage connoisseur. What's your ideal alcohol percentage when it comes to real ale? Okay, so we talked a little bit about beer before. So on a session, it's probably something like 4.5, 5, isn't it, at the pub, that you can sort of knock back. So those proper jobs, they're good session beer. But for more of your connoisseur beers, they're sort of more 6.5 and upwards, up to about 8.5%, sort of real flavour, but not ones that you sort of neck back by the pint load. So yeah, I would say that sort of thing, depending on whether you want a lot of beer or just a few really nice ones. Yeah, so James is saying he likes 5.6 to 8.4, so yeah, same sort of thing, and preferably on the dark side, which I don't know if it's just a pun on his channel name or what he actually likes, whereas mine are more the IPAs, or they do drink a bit of stouts and porters and all that occasionally. He's saying with alcohol strength comes flavour. Yeah, that's true. But you can get, from the brewery, they do some very hoppy IPAs at a lower percentage. I do a pub quiz at one of their pubs on a Thursday, and I've got work on a Friday, and they do one. It's only, I think it's 4%, but they put so many hops in it, it is still a very delicious beer, and you wouldn't really know you're drinking a fairly low alcohol beer. So you can get flavour if you stick enough hops in. So he's saying he also likes Scrumpy, 7 and 9%. My wife likes a cider. I did used to like cider, but it seems a little bit sweet now. Even a dry cider is too sweet. I just like that bitter hit of the IPAs. So thanks for the questions, guys. Hope that answers them. So next is MauzyrockRC. Is that how you say it? I'm sorry, I don't know your real name either, but hello. He's saying what, we're going to put all that GT stuff on. So the video where I was asking for questions for this video was the one where I was showing the lights for the truck. I wasn't going to get a Grand Hauler kit, because it's not so much my thing. It's more of a model, that, isn't it? It would be interesting to do, but they're fairly expensive. So I'm going to see if I can put some lights in something like a lunchbox shell. I haven't actually looked at the kit to see how many lights you get. It seems like you get an awful lot, and you get the sound box, and the only thing I can think of is to put them inside a lunchbox shell, because you've got quite a lot of space there. So yeah, possibly that. So next I've got Gillian, or Gillian, asking, Pete, can you possibly tell me what the lottery numbers are going to be this week? If I win, it'll be Christmas every day, like our old friend Kev says, and I'll see you okay. So the video came out on the 2nd of February, so the lottery numbers that week are 8, 19, 25, 28, 29, 50, and the bonus ball's 46, so I hope you chose those numbers. So next it's Aviano saying, can you and Derek make a video together where you swap cars so Derek can drive something that goes fast? Well, despite what you think about Derek always driving crawlers, he has got some bashers, and he has actually been down and driven the Armours, and he does like them. And he has actually bought one of the Armours that I had, because I ended up with too many, because I bought some off a friend. So anyway, I've sold him a Big Rock, and also he's got a Typhon 3S. I haven't seen him drive them yet, but Derek does occasionally like a fast car. I don't know if he could convince me to do crawling, but if I do see Derek again, I'll try and get something together with video where he tries to convince me of the joys of crawling. Good luck with that, Derek. Okay, so next it's Dirk from RC Birds. Hiya, Dirk. So Dirk's asking about the light set that I was showing on that previous video. So he's asking which semi-kit I'm planning to get, and as I was saying, I think that's a bit too much of a model for me. It's quite a big truck, and it's sort of a slow moving one, isn't it, just for more for display. So it's probably not one for me. It would be interesting to build it, and they do look really good and I like all the functions, but yeah, probably not one for me, Dirk. And he's asking me when I'm going to do channel stickers. God, I don't know, I'm very bad at getting around to things, as I might have been discussing earlier, so it involves getting some nice graphics. Yeah, I don't know really. I will get around to it one day perhaps. I need somebody to design a little graphic, so it can be the lunchbox, but just need to say Pete Wiley RC. But yeah, I don't know, one day maybe. Anyway, that seems to be the end of the question, so thank you ever so much if you made it this far, and thank you if you asked a question. Hopefully I answered it okay. I'm going to refill my beer, and I'll see you next time.